who were slaves in Egypt. And so over time, migrating out from Africa and the Middle East and going into Europe and populating Europe and then moving over to America, we are the original race of Israelites. And so once you grasp that, the whole thing isn't so foreign anymore. Well, why am I celebrating a Passover of 12 tribes of Israel and, all the stuff these Jews did and Israelites did? That's us, folks. That was our ancestors. Our ancestors crossed the Sinai Desert. Our ancestors were led by Moses. And so once you start to realize that and take the blinders off your eyes because you've never been told that by your churches, so that you can start putting things into perspective, realizing who you are, because Satan doesn't want you to realize who you are. Always wants to keep the Lord's people blinded. Then you'll realize the war on the saints and why there's such a heavy persecution. We are the Jews being persecuted. Jews is a modern-day term. There was never a term, Jews, back then. Jews is a modern-day English term for the KJVers. And so when you realize that, you'll see that the war is on again. Because you're going to have a third world war, the Mexicans, and the Chinese who are coming over and to destroy America. So now you know. We're the Jews being, just led into apostasy again. Jews, the Israelites, over and over and over again, always being led into idolatry and apostasy. Well, that's America today, and that's Europe today. Both nations just totally being led by the nose, by the serpent's seed line, as they've always been. The tribe of Dan always overtaking and leading them into idolatry. And you'll find that many of our leaders today are from the tribe of Dan. It's where a lot of the satanic Satanist groups arise out of. And you'll notice that the tribe of Dan and Ephraim aren't listed with the 144,000. The tribes of 144,000 is 12,000 from each tribe that are warriors for the Lord in the last day. And those two tribes are not listed. It's because the Nazis and that whole tribe was from Dan. And so when you look at Israel today, folks, that is not the Lord's original crew of Israelites, the tribes of Israelites. Some of them are, yes, there's a remnant over there. But the remnant, the majority that's dominating their government, are just Satanist Zionists. The same thing that's dominating our government over here in America. And so I hope that puts it into perspective that, that's why we have these feasts of the Lord 7 times a year to commemorate, because it's His time of showing us His whole plan of redemption for us and what our history is and what our future is. And you'll really start to grasp that once you start observing these feasts and realizing who you are. Because we're all over here migrated from Europe, and it was Europe that was dominant of the 12 tribes of Israel, folks. And so, that's who we are, folks. We are the original Israelites, the same ones that were enslaved in Egypt. And you know what's pretty bad is that in Egypt, our great-great-grandfathers were complaining about, taxation and being in slavery. They were only paying 10% taxes. And here we are again, Israel. We're in slavery, and we're paying 33, 35% taxes. We do it every time, and you know why? It's just a cycle that we never break loose from because of the blessings and curses associated with Deuteronomy 28 and 29. When you follow the Lord's laws, you reap the blessings. And when you don't, you reap the cursings. And so I'm going to answer just 2 more questions, quick questions that are coming while I was going to end the show. Why are the Mexicans being allowed to pour over the border? Because they first of all, it fulfills 2 purposes. One, they want to make this all one region, a borderless North America, where Canada, Mexico, and the United States would just be one area, one region. And another reason being because they know eventually it's going to incite chaos here and civil war, and that exactly plays into their hands. Allowing all these Mexicans over here plays into their hands for chaos and civil war. Because they can bring in foreign troops, they can bring in American troops to, instigate martial law in our cities. That all plays into their hands. It's all about control. and tightening, controlling, and start instigating these martial law camps. Another question is, I think you should put together a true Bible. Has the Lord ever led you in this direction? No. He just tells me what to read and what not to read. Don't read Paul. I like the words in red. The words in red. And I like some of the older scriptures, the Clementines and the homilies. Love some of the forefathers right out of 200 AD or earlier. Just getting back into researching what was the true church really worshipped and what they believed back then from 200 AD and before. And just leave everything out from 200 AD on, because that's when the corruption came from the Pauline camps and the persecutions of stamping out the real believers of that day so that the apostate Christians could take over Christianity, take over and put the Lord's name on it and start this whole charade that we call Christianity today, which is nothing but the Lord and the apostles established and what they followed and believed. And so if you really want to know what the truth is, you got to go back 200 AD and before and start your research there and what those area churches believed, because Paul even admits entire Asia rejected him. And the Lord, through John, praises Ephesus in Revelation chapter 2 and 3 for testing the apostles and knowing who the false ones were. And he's talking about Paul. And Paul admits entire Asia had rejected him. So all of the entire area that the 7 churches listed in Revelation chapter 2 and 3 had all rejected Paul. And so what happened was we had intense early Christian persecutions where all those believers who rejected Paul were killed off, so that the ones who accepted him could be brought in to lead the church, form the RCC, and start this whole charade of Christianity based on their man Paul. They just got rid of everybody who didn't like Paul and didn't believe in Paul. And so that's what we have in Christianity today, folks. That's why I encourage you to do your own research. Okay, one more question. I'm going to wrap up the show. Is there anything we can do besides Oregon, or is it all over now? We're just watching it happen now until we are killed. Man, when it's not ours to just sit and die, it's ours to get up and fight. We're warriors for the Most High. Get out, don't give up. We're not called to give up. We're here to fight. We did it the first time. We're here to do it the second time. You know what? He's a loser. And so if you war go in your area and aliens can't get to it, just think of all the people and all the lives you're saving. Think of all the lives you're saving, because the ultimate goal is that people can hear the message of the word of the Lord and come to His salvation and follow and worship Him. We realize that there's only going to be a minority. But we have to fight tooth and nail for this minority like you wouldn't believe. All right, folks, that wraps it up. I'll try to get back updated on my blogger this week. Don't know if I will. But you can check it out. You know what? I just have so much to do, so many things I'm doing, 100 different directions at once. Just everywhere, all over the place. As far as research goes, as far as writing, as far as trying to put things down in paper that I'm learning. Very, very difficult when you've got high-tech weapon attacks from the DIA constantly, day in and day out, And that's, another thing is another way of fighting those lords as people is just ask the Lord to break their equipment. You want peace for a few days? Ask the Lord to break all the high-tech weapons, all the high-tech weapons targeted and focused against you. All right, folks, that's it. I'll see you next week, everybody. Next week at 7 o'clock, I'll be here live. I'll see you then. Goodbye.